Hi, I'm Jamie Mitchell, and welcome to the very first unnamed Big Wave podcast. This is something I've been thinking about for many years, and I'd like to thank Surfline for jumping on board and helping me produce this. Our first episode today is going to be with none other than Hawaiian legend Makua Rothman, the 2015 Big Wave World Champion, 2002 XXL Biggest Wave Champion at 66 feet at 18 years old. As usual, things never go to plan when you're chasing swells or chasing big waves, so this was no different with the podcast. Makua's power went out. He had to get a backup generator. Then we finally got him into the seat. He had his kids' Spider-Man headphones on. They wouldn't work. And then once we finally got it all together, we had a cement truck turn up next door and start pouring cement. But as you do chasing swells, we made it happen and we got it done. So I'd like to thank Makua for the first ever podcast. I hope you enjoy. Check it out. It sounds like getting ready for a swell, the drama we went through today. It's just normal for us, just what you do to get ready to go for a swell, right?
Well, you should know the drama that when I went and caught the 66-foot wave when I was a kid, I woke up in the morning and my dad's like, "What are you doing still here?" And I'm like, "Oh, me and Ryan are going to surf all front." He's like, "No, you are. Think again. Go wake him up now." And I'm like, "But his house is locked." So I had to climb up on Ryan's roof and break in his window and wake him up. And then book a flight on the phone, because I don't even think there was there was no iPhones back then to book a flight on. And halfway to the airport, cuts out. We get there, then they don't want to let us on the plane because we're late and our boards and this. And then some guy loans us his truck. We get to Dave Kalama's house, or Uncle Ilima's house. We get there. Laird left a jet ski there. No gas, no oil, nothing. And back then you had to mix the oil with the gas. So me and Ryan are like, "God damn, what do we do?" You know what I mean? What's the ratio? "Oh, no, you ride dirt bikes." All right, we did it. Got it all together, got it in the water, went over the first wave, and the turtles, before you had to put down the front hatch and then lock it down and then put the seat on. And we forgot to put the lock on, so the handlebars went off, the water went in, we had to take it in, put it back on the tires, drain the water out, get it back in the water. By the time we were going out, Laird and Garrett, everybody's coming in, and they're like, "Oh, you guys missed it. It's going down already." And me and Ryan like, "What should we do?" "Oh, let's just go out there." So we got out there, and I'm like, "Yeah, you towed first in the contest," because we just did the World Cup of towing surfing back then. And I told him, "You towed first in the contest, so I'm going to go first today." And we went out the back, and I swear the first wave that popped up was that wave.
Okay, cool. Well, we're going to get back to that. We're definitely going to get back to that wave, because that wave is a special wave for you for sure, guaranteed. But I'd like to start from the beginning. I mean, what it was like, what your upbringing was like on the North Shore. What got you into surfing, and then blend into what got you into big wave surfing, because I think that me and you have a lot in common in a way. Like I know asthma was a big part of your childhood, and same with me.
Oh yeah.
Asthma really bad as a kid, and I think even I know your dad is a strong influence and was a strong man, and my dad was the same as well. So I don't think it was easy for either one of us. But I'd like to get your take on what it was like to grow up on the North Shore, how you got into surfing, and then how that progressed into wanting to surf big waves.
Growing up for me on the North Shore is a little different. First thing, one of the first memories of life was them blowing our door off to raid our house and to arrest my dad, and beating the shit out of my mom in front of me, and putting a gun to my head, telling me they're going to shoot me and this and that. And 97 cops for one guy. And I remember walking down the stairs. I wrote it in a song that I'm coming out with. Was it blood down my face or just a little sweat? I remember the blood from my mom's face was dripping on me. And she was naked. They wouldn't even let her put on clothes. Finally got to get her clothes on and stuff. And so I was born into a family of someone who allegedly was a bad guy. And that's how it all started. And from there, we went to a shaping house. I lived in a shaping room and a glassing room. And My dad went to jail. We lived on the beach over here, right in front of where our house is now. We lived in a tent on the beach. We never have house. We just had a tent, and the ocean was always there for me. I mean, my name Makua Kai means father of the sea, guardian of the sea, and I think I was just born to be a surfer. I had nowhere else to go. Like I said, we're on a tent on the beach over here. The only place I could go is straight out front, go swim. And um, being sick and asthma, being sick 9 months out of the year at that time was a really, really rough start to life. Thank God for my family, my uncles and aunties, my grandmother was a big influence on my life, and my dad. He did what he could do until he could be there with us all the time. And surfing, the sport of surfing comes from my ancestors. We created the sport of surfing. It's the sport of kings, and I'm the 12th great grandson of Kamehameha. Straight down the line, if you look at the genealogy chart, I have it over here. And so it runs in my blood. It's in my name, and that's pretty much how surfing. I got my start surfing was I had no choice but to go to the ocean.
Yeah, and then I mean your dad with a bunch of like really, most people would say heavy characters, but like started the Hui, which is basically a surf club. And I mean, in Australia we have lots of surf clubs, and it's very similar to what I think. Like they started something to come together and create something together, and I mean that must have been pretty amazing to be a part of that growing up too. Like all the heavy hitters, all those heroes. Like Johnny Boy and Sonny. I mean, what an incredible like way to grow up. Like on the North Shore, they have those guys as your heroes, and basically they're your brothers, your uncles, like they're your family. You're like you really did have a unique and special upbringing. It's pretty radical.
Oh yeah, I mean Dane Kealoha lived at my house. Buttons, Johnny Boy came home. My dad took him from the boys' home, and he came and lived with us. Titus Kinimaka, Ali Kai Kinimaka, all my uncles. Um, you name it, they were there. I was definitely in an interesting situation in life, especially at that point in time. The Huyo Hitinalu was started in 1975, and it was a club that was formed to keep this place for the locals. Like there was a lot of people coming in, trying to exploit the place, and Pops and the boys just said, if you guys are gonna play, you guys are gonna pay. And that's what it was. And it turned into a really big thing. It turned into a club of, like you said, some of the best surfers in the world. I can remember going to the signings, and Derek Ho would be there, Derek and Mike, and Max Medeiros, Larry Rios. I mean, all like the guys that were the guys back in the day were my uncles, and it's just such a special thing to be able to be in that situation in life and be influenced by so many great Hawaiian surfers.
Yeah, and I even to this day the Hui are doing we do the 4th of July paddle race every year, which is by far one of the funnest paddle races ever. I've been doing I did that for years and years, and then you guys do the backdoor shootout, which from all accounts from all the surfers is one of the funnest, best events that is put on in the whole year as well. So not only did they start in 75, they're still going in 2020.
Oh yeah, well once upon a time we used to have the whole entire Sunset Elementary School, and it used to be one major Easter egg hunt. I don't know, maybe 20 years or more. They'd start down by the little pavilion that's there now, and there'd be age groups, and it was the biggest Easter egg hunt at the time. And I'm not sure what happened with all of that and the permits, and people complain for I don't know what reason sometimes, and turn a good thing away. And we have the longest standing beach cleanups in Hawaii. We have the longest paddleboard race. We have one of the biggest paddleboard races in the state. The backdoor shootout, the surf contest. I mean, oh yeah. I mean, You would know.
Yeah.
How many times have you won our race?
A couple.
You know what's so funny is as soon as you pull up, guys are like, oh, okay, we got second. No, nobody's going for first if Jamie's here. Oh yeah, well, it's been a lot of things. Work in the community, just trying to keep the North Shore, man. This place is so crazy. I mean, it's just it is what it is. It turned from like the most local, beautiful place where only locals would come out to before, kind of because it was so rural and there was nothing really out here, to becoming this the Mecca, the Super Bowl, one of the most sought after places in Hawaii. I mean, besides Waikiki Beach, everybody wants to see the pipeline. Everybody wants to see Eddie Aikau, the Waimea Bay, and this place is so magical. That's why I think being brought up here, raising our families here, just like you know where to bring them. It's a beautiful place. There's a lot of beautiful people here, and we're gonna continue that legacy on.
Yeah. So I guess it's pretty easy to understand or see how you got into surfing, but I'm guessing through that, elementary school, Sunset Elementary to Kahuku and stuff, you probably played, I think I read something that your dad would put you into a bunch of sports to help with the asthma. Like you probably played soccer, baseball, water polo, football. I'm guessing you probably played all those sports, right?
Yeah, well, I played water polo, baseball, football, soccer, surf team. I was too short for basketball. Nobody ever wanted to pick me for basketball. But yeah, he put me into a lot of different sports because to work my heart, to work my lungs. My lungs were always under such pressure and such, they're getting taxed all the time from asthma. He said, you might as well work out and keep your lungs pumping and strengthen them as much as you can. The more you work out, the more you run, the more you swim, the more you get exercise, the better it's going to be for your lungs, the more that they work. Instead of sitting at home and being like, oh, stay on the couch, you have asthma, we wouldn't want you to catch an asthma attack somewhere. He's like, nah, get out there and surf, go underwater, hold your breath, free diving. Me and Mark Healy grew up right outside here, right outside my window, battling every day, see who got the biggest fish, and just all those sports and all those things that he put me in was so smart, because now that I'm older, and you can attest to this, the more that we train and the more we do condition our lungs and our cardio is up, it seems like our asthma is less. And yeah, I wish we could put something out there for a lot of the asthmatics and like make a routine to try and help them pump up their cardio. Because I swear, if you're more in shape and your lungs are ready to go and you got that cardio in the tank, asthma is almost, I swear you can almost like exercise it out. Yeah.
Yeah, I did. I remember one stage I just decided, instead of taking the 4 puffs before I ran or anything, I decided I'm not going to do it anymore. And I would just walk, and then I would start to run, and I'd run. If I went for a 40-minute run, the last 5 minutes I would run, and I slowly worked myself up to where I would be able to go 40 minutes. It took a while, but then after that was like, I nearly didn't even need to take my inhaler anymore.
Yeah, well, a lot of people don't understand is the food that you eat, the milk, the cheese, the sugar, all of that stuff creates asthma, because asthma is the inflammation of the bronchial tubes. People think asthma is your lungs. Asthma is the bronchial tubes that lead to your lungs, that take the air there. They go like this with inflammation. And that's why it feels like you're breathing out of a coffee straw. I don't know if anybody wants to tape a coffee straw to their mouth, but if you want to feel how it feels to have asthma, take one of those little coffee straws and just breathe out of that all day. And you know how it is to be an asthmatic. But just all around good health, training, good food. I mean, it's all of our illnesses, I think, some of them we're born with, we don't have a choice, but a lot of them can be dealt with and handled through good, clean eating and a nice, healthy exercise, good, clean lifestyle.
Yeah. So that's a great intro into, I guess, what the start of your love affair with, I won't say XXL waves yet, but big waves. I mean, you had asthma, you struggled with asthma, you're obviously surfing at this time, but I mean, you've got the best big waves, Sunset, Phantoms right in front of your house. But what was it that drew you to, not just surfing B-land every day or going down the shores, or what wanted you to start going out to Sunset when it was 6 feet, 8 feet, 10 feet? What was it?
Well, believe it or not, even through all that workout and stuff, because I was put on so many steroids, I used to have to take 7 different medicines 4 times a day. And my dad started taking me off of it as I got, 7, 8, 9. He's like, man, you can't be taking these medicines. They're going to start messing with you in the long run. And it put weight on me when I stopped taking a lot of these steroids for all that stuff, and I was always the fat kid. Little Cole, puffer fish, lunchbox, lunch wagon. I had every fat name you could imagine. I had it. And all the kids could surf the small waves good. They were ripping. They were doing little air chop hops back then. And, and I couldn't really do that. But one thing I could do was catch big waves, and I wasn't afraid at all. You know what I mean? I just, through the experiences I went through in my life, was like, that's not scary. That's fun to me, and my thing to get over on the other kids that they couldn't do was I could surf big. I wasn't scared of bigger waves. And a lot of the kids that were even a little older than me and stuff, they didn't really like the big waves as well. So I was like, yeah, you guys can do a chop up, but check this one out. I got a 10-footer at Sunset. Or, you know what I mean? I got a huge wave. And back then, a 10-foot wave, a real 10-foot wave at Sunset was massive to us. That was like a Jaws wave. I mean, a 10-foot Sunset wave can pound you just as hard as a Jaws one can if you're not careful. You know what I mean?
Right. I just got pounded 2 days ago by a 10-footer. That's kind of how I got into my love of really like pushing the levels of big wave surfer. And not only that, towing surfing was pretty much created right outside my house. Laird Hamilton, Buzzy Kerbox, Double D right here at his house at the end of the road. They were towing in with the Zodiac out here. We bought the first jet skis that started towing guys in, and Darrick just kind of took me under his wing as his little protege. It was like just to see heroes of mine and what they were doing. I was like, that's what I want to do. Either the tour and all that stuff was cool, but I always just wanted to surf big waves, and I always wanted to, do what they were doing. I used to sit on my porch and watch it. I'm like, oh my God, this is amazing. And that was when I was young. I mean, there wasn't too many people back then thinking of taking a path in big wave surfing. Like, there was no kids going like, well, I'm going to be a big wave surfer and that's going to be my career choice. Like, nowadays, guys, they come out of Timbuktu, they catch one big wave and all of a sudden, I'm a big wave surfer now. It's like, what? You know what I mean? It's kind of ironic that back in the day when only a certain amount of real seasoned watermen, the Darrick Doerners, the Lairds, the Brock Little, who else? Richard Schmidt. I mean, Keone Dowling. You know what I mean? Like, yeah, Dave Kalama. There was a lot of guys that were. It was more of an underground thing. It wasn't really blown up back then. Guys just did it, and they're kind of like titans of the waves. Well, to me anyway. And I always wanted that lifestyle. Watching Double D do the Point Break body surfing at Point Break. That's Darrick Doerner, that does the wipeouts at for the original Point Break. And it just went from being the fat kid that couldn't do anything good besides catch good big waves to wanting to do all that stuff. How did that? Was there a one moment? Do you remember like a moment where you're like, was it like seeing Double D and Laird in that Zodiac out at that outside Sunset that first time, or what was it? Because it's sort of like I feel like they were the glory years in a way, because guys were still paddling big waves. Like you had Brock and Richard Schmidt and all those guys still paddling huge Waimea, and then the jet ski revolution came in and Jaws and all that, and it was such an amazing time for big wave surfing. Like, and that happened right in front of it. You saw it in front of your house, like basically evolve. So I wonder if there was that one moment where you went, "Fuck, that's what I want to do for the rest of my life."
Yeah, well, the first couple times was Herbie Fletcher outside of Pipeline, Potts and those guys, and then when he had his jet skis, I mean. But when I seen it out here, and I didn't understand it back then because I was so young. And the first couple of times, guys have, did a few tows here and there with the stand-up jet skis. It wasn't really a thing. They were just trying something out. But when the strap crew actually created that sport and turned it into something that was going worldwide and was really getting recognition, which is when it started out here. And I don't know, Darrick Doerner kind of chose me almost. He's like, hey, you want to come do this? I'm like, yeah, maybe.
Yeah.
And I just fell in love with it because it was so awesome to be out there with nobody around. There's not 100 guys in the lineup paddling. It was just us in the waves and these monster waves and these boards. I used to tow in. We didn't have straps back then. I think my board was like a 7.3 Rawson I used to tow in on. And yeah, it was just like, I'm pretty sure I was like 13 years old, almost positive. I was riding a rusty board shaped by Rawson, my 7.3, and that's those couple waves I caught on that board. I'm like, I love this so much. And thank God Ryan Rawson was one of my best friends, lived right a few houses down right here, and he loved the big waves, and he was one of my best friends, and we said, let's do this, man.
Yeah, I was about to say, because it was back then, it was about, can you hear me still?
I can hear you. Of course.
Oh yeah, okay. Thought it cut out. You knew big wave guys by their partners. You know, it was like, you know, Laird and Kalama. It was like Akaika and Garrett. You know what I mean? It was you and Ryan, and you guys were the original young guys. You know, like it was like it was like partners, like Batman and Robin. You know what I mean? Like you just knew like whose partner was and who else was a partner. You know, so you and Ryan must have had some crazy stories, like learning how to drive a jet ski together, like going out to the outer reefs, like Phantoms, all around the North Shore.
Well, before, Darrick used to not let us tow. He used to make us follow him into the waves, and then we'd have to like learn how to jump the waves behind him, and he'd take us through all the reefs inside of here, and like he'd make us go through VLAN and find the parking lot channel inside. And you know, if you lose your board outside of Revy's, there's a channel in here. You can come in. We go to Turtle Bay, and he'd drop us off. Oh, go out. We're going to Phantoms. Where's your board? Don't worry about it. Here, jump off right here. I'm like, what do you mean jump off right here? Comes and say, hey, get me. No. You're going to take this one on the head, and I'll come pick you up. We'll practice pickups. And I'm like, so back then, practicing pickups was like drop you off, get pounded, and then practice, not, practice pickups in flat water. But it was a whole different thing back then. I didn't even have a life vest. What life vest? What is that? You know what I mean? This is Phantoms. You got this, boy, right? Boom, boom, boom. And I'm just like, oh my goodness. And it was kind of like they taught us from the ground up. You know, we'd have to take apart our jet skis. There are 2 strokes back then, so you'd have to take out all the spark plugs. You put the WD-40, turn it over, and shoot all the water out of the heads. And we'd learn how to clean everything. And we're more like deckhands at first, before he let us actually take the jet ski out. And we learned a lot about safety, before this Bragg and Big Wave Risk Assessment Group. Darrick Doerner was one of the premier lifeguards here on the North Shore.
Yeah.
And he would teach us CPR. He would teach us trauma stuff. He would teach us a lot of things we would have never known. And this is a young age, 12, 13 years old. He's teaching us what to do. Because if it's me and Ryan, we're young kids. If he gets hurt, do you get him first? Do you go in? Like, there's so many things that Darrick Doerner taught us that was so priceless that, it was a special time in surfing, a special time in my life for surfing, because I was being groomed to become one of the best big wave watermen in the world, and I didn't even know it, and so thankful to have that.
Yeah, Double D's. He's one amazing human and an introverted character, but he sure does know the ocean. He sure does know safety, and what an amazing experience to have him be a teacher. I mean, incredible.
Oh my God, he got fired from the City and County of Lifeguards. I watched him. He left this tower at Sunset Beach and went out and rescued Kurt Carl Smith with a helicopter out here. Jumped off. He ended up dying. I think he might have fell off the helicopter or something with he was windsurfing out here. And Darrick got fired from City and County of Lifeguards for leaving his post. I'm like, the waves are 20 feet, or I don't know how big the waves were. There's nobody swimming. The guy's his life's in in danger. He went and tries to help save the guy, and then he got fired for it. It was pretty crazy how things worked back then. It was a whole different place, and that guy, his well of knowledge of the ocean, and he was one of the best big wave surfers on planet Earth, period. Paddling, towing, anything. I mean, he did it all.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? He's one of the originals. He's one of the original big wave watermen. And to learn from him and be partnered up with Ryan, Darrick Doerner was a massive influence on our
That's
our
awesome. So let's go back to, it's a good time to jump back to that 2002 Jaws. That was the year, right? When you guys jumped on the jet ski, you're heading out. Everyone's saying, "Hey, it's over," and you and Ryan are heading out, wondering if you should catch a wave, and then take us through the rest of the story.
We got there finally. Like I said, Ryan had towed first the last time we were there. I think it was the year before at the contest. We're only like 16 and 7, 15 and 16 or something at that contest. We're surfing against all the biggest dogs in the whole world. And they're like, "Who are these kids? Don't worry, we're right here." And so yeah, he towed first in the event, and lucky thing, it was my turn. I was up, and we went over one wave, and I remember Noah Johnson, and as I was coming in, Kaika and Archie or somebody, and it was Noah Johnson and someone else coming out, and we were just going on this, and it was just, you know what I mean? That's all I could see. He wasn't listening to me. I was just going like this. We had a turtle. Thing was going so slow, and finally we got it up to speed, and we start going, and the chops were so big as I was going, and you know, I was just like, oh my god, and like I let go, and I was thinking, oh, I let go too early, but I had to let go. I was just getting bounced all over the place. It was kind of nuts, so I just let it go, and next thing I know, I was on the wave. I thought I missed it. Like I let go too early, and I was like, oh my goodness. And yeah, to me at that time, it just looked like the whole world stood up in front of me, and I was like, oh my goodness. And yeah, I rode it perfectly for that time. Now that I watch the wave, I'm like, gosh, I could have pulled into that one. But
yeah,
but, at the tender age, and you're just first starting, and we were the first kids to tow and do our thing out there. There was no other kids out there but us. You know, all those years, there was nobody else wanted it, and that wave just marked a time in surfing history where the next generation of kids were coming up, and they were going to be hungry, and they wanted it just as bad as the big dogs. And I think me and Ryan definitely pushed those boundaries, and that wave showed that the changing of the guard is going to start, and there's going to be a lot more kids, young generation, the next generation of hungry big wave surfers looking into this, and now look what's happening. I mean,
yeah. I mean, how did that? What's that wave mean? Like it's 66 feet, right? I think it was 2002, November 2002. You got the wave. You won the 2002, 2003 XXL biggest wave of the year award at 66 feet. You won 66 grand, which is
well. There was
amazing.
No such thing as ride of there was no such thing as ride of the year or biggest wave. It was just one prize. It was the biggest wave, the ride, whatever. It was the biggest wave back then. There was no real ride of the year, so that was the main prize. That's why I got so much money for it. I got $1 a foot and
$1.
Almost yeah, it was $1 a foot. Yeah, 66 grand for that one wave, and yeah, the rest was it put my name in the record books forever. It changed my life. It changed my career. It changed everything that I was aiming for. Kind of shifted to all big waves instead of trying to be QS warrior. I did that too, but I mean, that is a grind. I'm not gonna do that.
Yeah.
I had fun doing it, but big waves was my passion, and that thing was like heard round the world. The boy that caught the 66-foot wave, there was at the time, was the biggest wave ever ridden.
Yeah, and then
measured when they started to measure them.
No, you're right. I was going to say I was going to that. So 2002, 2003, XXL Big Wave Award, 66 feet. then you're the big wave world champion in 2015. And I remember that year
Yep.
because it was an interesting year for you because I was at Pico Alto 2014, and I don't even think you were going to be in the contest, right? And then Pete Mel gave you the wild card because you were just about to have one. I'm not sure what you were about to give birth.
Daughter. So this how it went. Yeah.
And then I remember
I
you turned
asked
up
him
with Rob
about
Garcia.
Yeah. Yeah, I asked Pete Mill, I asked Gary Linden, hey, what's up with this big wave tour thing, blah, 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 blah. And he's like, oh, you don't surf cold water, blah, 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 this and that, probably won't happen. I was like, oh, wow, okay. And then Pete Mill was the commissioner, so I called Peter, I'm like, I seen these 12 guys were invited, right, the invitees, and then they had all these other spots. I'm like, Pete, give me a chance. Like, what do you mean? And he's like, hell, I can give you a chance to this one. And I'm like, okay, perfect. I'll take that chance. Next thing I know, long story short, my daughter's being born. We're going to, they're like, oh, there might be a yellow light. This is like 5 days out. 3 days out, I'm in the hospital, or 4 days maybe. The the doctor's asking my wife, oh, should we use Pitocin for her to induce her into labor because her there's amniotic fluid when her was coming out a little bit. And I'm like, yeah, I used the Pitocin. And she's like, oh. So they hooked her up right away. And I was like, oh, yeah. I guess it made the contractions a lot worse or whatever. And she was pretty bummed about that. But I was like looking at the time on my phone. And they're like, what are you doing? Come over and like hold her hand. I'm like holding her hand on the phone on one side. Like, yeah, is the contest on? Yeah, you got to fly out tomorrow. And I'm like looking at the clock. I'm like, come on, baby. Come on. My daughter is born, downset hike, handed her off to mom, straight out the door, jumped on the plane, called Rob. I said, Rob, I'm so blown. I haven't slept. I've been in the hospital for a day and a half. Like, I need you to come with me and work on me and do all this. I said, of course, I'm always there for you. Let's go. So we paid for his ticket to go, which wasn't cheap. Like, day before to get to Pico Alto was like almost $4,000 or something crazy, right? Call Marcus. I'm like, Marcus, you got to go pick up Nalani from the hospital and drive her home. You got to go get the baby. So he goes there. They get the baby. I still got my bracelet on that had my daughter's name on it. I get to Pico Alto. We warm up the day before. First heat in the morning. I get caught inside on just a bomb set. I don't know how big it was. I was literally, throwing up underwater, like puking in my mouth as I'm getting pounded because I'm so jet lagged, so sleep deprived. Lucky thing, the last seat they had on the plane on LAN Airlines was a first class seat. So I got to lay down and sleep pretty much the whole way there. Then they had me in some like dungeon room and Strider's like, bro, take my room. I got this. They had this house or whatever for whatever friends. Take my room. So I got like a crib room from Strider. Marcus got the kids. I finally get there, throwing up on the water, make my heats. I get to the finals and I remember I'm surfing against Twiggy. I think Twiggy might have made the semis or the finals. I don't know if he made the finals, but he said he had said something to me at that contest, and this will come up later. But the leashes, I used to wear my leash with the pull tab up and the metal part down, which is really wrong because when I got caught inside, it almost broke my ankle, and I think it did fracture Twiggy's foot that same time in that contest. And so the finals, when I caught this wave, I was catching it. And next thing you know, I'm like, oh, I should kick out because I'm not going to get over the ledge. I went to kick out, and it was like sucking me over. I'm like, oh my God, I'm going to go over the falls. And I made it, and the guy came up, told me I won the contest, and I was so tired that I almost couldn't even like enjoy that first victory of everything because I was so exhausted. Like, it was almost like it was a dream. It wasn't even like real to win my first big wave tour event. It was the first ever WSL big wave contest, I think, if I'm not mistaken. There was some tours before and contests, but this was the first WSL sanctioned big wave contest they ever had, right?
Yeah, I'm not sure, but I mean, you ended up going on a tear. I think there was two contests that year. Then the next one was Chile, because I remember it was the same. It worked out. It was the same day as the Excel Awards. I just had shoulder surgery, couldn't go to Chile, but you went to Chile and you won again. So you won both events and then crowned world champion for 2015.
Well, I won the Pico Alto. Then we went to Punta Galea and I got second. I was winning that one too. And Nick Lamb went left, fell down, lay down on his board, got back up, and they gave him a 10. I'm like, how do you fall down, lay down on your board? But congratulations, because I love Nick so much. I'd never hate on him. I just never seen somebody fall and get a 10 before. But I got second in that event. So I got first, second, and then in Chile, that's the funny thing. I was sitting in the hot tub in Chile, and I told Twiggy, he's like, yeah, he's all pumped up because he was like smoking everybody in the semis, and I like just made to the finals. Sitting there, I'm like, just imagine, Twiggy, I get this trophy and I could get the world title all in the same day. It's not gonna happen, bro. Not gonna happen. No chance. Da 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 da. All gets out, goes to the other hot tub. I'm like, yeah, I'm gonna be holding both trophies up today. Look, I win the finals, win the contest, and the trophy, and he had to give world title trophy. I was just like, yes, thing ever. You know why? Because you know why it was so good to me? Because Twiggy was like the guy that was smashing everybody. He was winning everything at one point. I mean, you know, he came out of South Africa and was like, wow, who's this South African guy? And he was on a tear in big waves. And to just compete with him and do all that. Look at him now. Look at those waves he caught at Jaws the other year. He won another world title. Like, the guy's an animal. And it's good fun to battle him for that. And winning my first world title was amazing.
Yeah, it's epic. And then you also, just going back to the accomplishments, you actually won a Sunset. I mean, how good is it to win at Sunset? 2007, was it? The O'Neill World Cup of Surfing? Is that when you won Sunset?
Yep, I'm looking at it right now, right up on my thing up there. To win there was crazy because when I was a kid, when my mom and dad got divorced, my mom used to live at Michael Ho's house. And right right across the street here, and he had a World Cup out there on the deck. And I'd always look at it as a kid, like, oh, that'd be so crazy to win one of those things. And like, when you're that young, you don't think anything ever like that's gonna happen. And when I won it and I had it in my hand, I kind of like flashed back, like, oh, I remember standing on Mike's porch, holding the world in my hand. You know what I mean? It was crazy. To win in my backyard, to win a Triple Crown event, it ain't easy. It's the best surfers in the world. The Laters, the Sonny Garcias, the Andy Irons, buddy. You know what I mean? And in that era right there, 2007, surfing was fire. It was the young guys coming up, the older guys kind of coming out, and man, I mean, I got my name on the trophy with Johnny Boy and Sonny and some of the greatest surfers of all time, Joel Parkinson's, Mick Fanning's. I mean, that's it. Pinch myself. It's a dream come true.
Yeah, and so moving on from that, so who, like, right now in this day and age, like, so much has changed, I guess, like, you know, we have the inflation vests and there's so much, like, but who's impressing you in Hawaii as young kids? Is there anyone that's impressing you that's up and coming, you know, whether it's on Oahu or Maui? Sort of seems like it's slim pickings at the moment for young kids, like really pushing it like you guys were back then at 18, you know?
The young kids right now, maybe Ty Simpson, he was out there the last contest. Yeah, the kid Ty. Who else is young that's been... There's not that many young kids that really, like, push the limits right now in Hawaii. I mean, I can't really think of any that are, you know, all the other kids are 26, 27. I mean, that's old already for, you know, it's 10 years older than the teenagers. I can't really think of too many teenagers. Unless something slipped in my mind, you can remind me. I think Ty is probably the the only one that I could think of right now that's kind of pushing the limits of big wave surfing.
It nearly seems like, to me anyway, there's a big push of the kids at Mavericks, young Luca and a bunch of the kids there. They're like a bunch of under 20-year-old kids. There must be like, and they're like all best friends, like sort of like, I guess nearly like what it would be like, nearly like Koa, Nathan, Eli now, like a pack of guys that are pushing each other, and it seems like they have a pretty big push right now. But in Hawaii, it seemed like it's just interesting to think about it, because you were doing it so long ago, like at 18 years old, so long ago. I thought there just might be a lot bigger push right now with everything that's like, the vest and everything. But I guess time will tell.
Just seems like the kids are all weak nowadays. I mean, I don't mean to be rude, but none of them really aggressive attitude. A lot of the kids out here got a lot of stuff. They don't really got to work for much, and the whole generation of kids below my brother, I don't know. I don't even know what to. They just. It's a lot of good kids. They rip and this and that, but none of them seem hungry to get into big waves, because I don't think they really have to, or they like to necessarily. My brother guys, he came up after me, and you know what I mean. I was shooting for Larry. They were coming up shooting for what we're doing, and these kids nowadays, I don't know. It's just different. I think it might take too much work to launch the ski and wash the ski and everything. They want mom and dad to do everything for them. I don't know. It just seems like the generation is a little different mindset, and it almost like they went more. Maybe they just are more tour minded, maybe, and the hype is more for them to surf the WCT, which is awesome, and well, you figure that's where all the money was all the years anyway. So, I mean, maybe they got it on point. Maybe they're smarter than us. But I'm not sure. Man. I don't know why that is, because once my brother, them, they're already 26, 27. Billy's 30. I mean, it's like, I'm not sure. I think Ty might be the only one, right? Or what?
Yeah. Yeah, I was just interested. It's not like I'm saying there's no good young surfers, big wave surfers in Hawaii, but I'm talking like the real young, like the 16, 17, 18s, where you're like, wow, this kid is freaking sending it. And like, he's young, you know what I mean? Like, I haven't really seen that. Like the young kid Ty, for sure, he was in the contest this year, and he's been charging the last few years. That's why he got in the contest. But I think it goes back to, like, even when we're training, right? Like, this is a good segue into, I guess, surfing big waves is not easy, right? It's like, takes a lot of dedication, takes a lot of time, takes a lot of experience, and there's a lot of training involved. And like, I guess, I know what you do to prepare, but I guess to our listeners or whoever's going to watch this, like, go through what it's like what Makua Rothman does to prepare to, like, put your life on the line, and go take us through a daily routine, what you guys go through.
I chase Jamie Mitchell around the track because he's so fast, and I try and keep up with him is what I do. It's once again, we're blessed to have a good group of people with us. Started off with Rob Garcia, and back in the day, Kai Garcia used to wake us up at 5 a.m. and get us on our bikes, and we'd ride down to the field and run around the field and all that kind of stuff. And he was really into jiu-jitsu back then, and Rob Garcia was helping train him, and that's how Rob Garcia came into our lives. I might have been, I think it was before I caught the 66-foot wave. I trained with Kai guys and Rob them way back then, because it was Oscar De La Hoya days, and he was training De La Hoya in the strength and conditioning, and we just had this guy that was so amazing, world champion, and getting Kai to win his first. I think he was maybe the first American to win a world jiu-jitsu. I think it was purple belt jiu-jitsu title, and I was training with Rob, and that's where Rob came in, and waking up at 4:30 a.m. and running, the diet, and then you train again, and we used to train 3 times a day, and nowadays we took all of that, and now I train with you. I train with you and Kahea and Billy, and I mean, just look at the results speak for themselves. I mean, we breathe, we train, we eat, we sleep big waves, and it's there's no other way to become good or great or a champion at anything besides dedicate yourself and put the work in that needs to be put in. Everybody knows that they cheat themselves and they say they did this and they did that, and there's a champion for a reason. He put more work and dedication than the rest of the guys, because hard work beats talent any day of the week. You know what I mean? You work hard, you train hard, you practice. Perfect practice makes perfection, not practice. You can practice sloppily or practice and then go off and party or whatever else you're gonna do. It doesn't mean you're gonna make it happen. And for me, dividing my time between the kids, the training, the music, and all that other stuff, it gets complicated. But I know that my life is always on the line when I surf big waves, and training is number one. That's why it's the first thing I do when I wake up in the morning is I get up and go to the gym.
Yeah. And I think it's great too. Like for me, in the later stages of my, I would say, athletic career potentially is just like, it's fun to like know that I'm pushing. No, just, I'm getting old, so, but I mean, I love being able to help push Billy and yourself, and then like if I don't do well in the contest, but I see you guys do well, like I feel like we've created, you're sort of part of a team, right? And it's like, yeah, you want to win, and you like, we all like to win Jaws, and you like to beat Billy, and Billy like to beat us, but at the end of the day, like when you're in the gym sweating and pushing each other, you want to see one of your boys win, and I think that for me, it's a really like training with good people and people that you want to see do well and help achieve that, and that have that same mental attitude. I think that's an amazing thing. And I think that's going back to the kids thing. Like, I think kids these days, they think they work hard, but they don't really know what working hard is.
That's what I say. They're lazy. And I see it. I mean, I see all the kids train with Kahea. You know what I mean? They come up, they come and train after. You see them come after. It's almost like we are in a contest when it's me, you, and Billy. Every time I can't come third in the run, I'm like, ugh. Then I come second one, I'm like, yes, like I won the world championship. Or when we're training, Billy's counting my reps always, you know what I mean? Oh, you only did 8. I'm like, whoa, bro, are you counting mine or are you counting yours? We all do the same thing to each other. But to have that team and that camaraderie that, it always pushes us. That's why a lot of sports, a lot of individual sports are, you get better results when you train in a team. You know what I mean? When you spar with guys, whatever it is, certain guys, the Pacquiaos, the Mayweathers, they have their money, the TMT, they have their team. You know what I mean? Everybody thinks it's an individual sport, but without a good team behind the individual, Lewis Hamilton, if he doesn't have his pit crew or whatever it is, it's almost like we're each other's pit crew. You know what I mean? We're there. We're pushing each other to the limit. Who can hold their breath the longest? Who swims around the rocks the fastest? Like, we're always competing. You know what I mean? We got to keep that competitive mindset. We got to be around those kind of people all the time, especially if we're on tour or if we're gunning for events. If we're not always trying to one up each other, whatever it may be, or training together and having that that competitive spirit all the time with us. I mean, it's what it is, and I'm so thankful to have you guys pushing me. And without that, I don't think I'd be the person I am today. And I think it goes the same for everybody, that we need that team and that friendly battle every day to take it into the competition setting.
Yeah, and not to mention that we all have families. We all know each other's families, and knowing that training like that is going to bring us home, the best of our ability, right? Like it's going to, in those gnarly situations, like, that those extra reps or that extra push up the hill or that extra, like, yelling at each other's, like, could potentially, bring you back to your family. So, I think that's another thing. It's obviously a motivation, when you have a family.
Oh yeah, definitely. Like you're saying about the new school, all the pool vests and stuff like that. I was hearing guys at the last Eddie we surfed. Oh, you paddle out if there's no vest, and you shouldn't this. Well, then you should walk, because why are you driving a car?
Yeah.
Like, why you gotta drive a car for? Why don't you just walk to town? Like, this is equipment. People think like, oh, you're taking a shortcut. Oh, he's got to wear a vest. No, I'm being smart because I have 3 kids at home, and I want to take the best chances in life to come home and help raise my family. Not only am I going to train hard, not only am I going to eat good and sleep well, I'm also going to use what is, at my disposal, what I have. I mean, you use equipment that potentially save your life. I mean, you want to train up the best that you can be, but you also want to have the equipment that will bring you home.
Yeah, it's like driving a car without without one of those inflation, what do they call it, seat blow up things in the seats,
Brakes.
like what? Yeah, so, but yeah, I mean, I guess that's a good way to go into, like, how is your approach? Do you think, like, from being in better shape, having a family, like from that 17 to 18-year-old kid with Ryan Rawson, like mixing your own oil and going out with the turtle jet ski to now with all this technology, like, has your approach changed to big wave surfing? Like the way that you approach the waves, is it? I mean, obviously it's probably changed, but I'm wondering, like, how much it's changed.
Well, I mean, I just know what the ocean means to me, and the ocean means to my family and our culture. And we have 100% respect for the ocean, and I've always had that same respect from when I was 18 years old to now. And if there's ever a time where I say, "Oh, my family's at home," or I might not charge as hard because of this, and that's the day that I shouldn't be out there. I need to give 150% every single time I catch every wave, just like I was 18 years old. Because if I don't, and I hesitate, that's the time I'm gonna hurt. And that's just an approach I always take. Some people tell me, "Oh, you got kids at home, you think about the big waves and this and that." I say, "Hey, millions of people drive down the street every day and die, or whatever it may be. I'm gonna go out there until I feel that I can't do it, and I'm gonna do it 110% every single time, whether I get hurt or not, because I know the time that I do slow down, and like I said, that I hesitate, that's gonna be the time that I might not come home." So I
Yeah.
first and foremost have respect, and I understand, and I almost like, it's almost like a church for me, the ocean. I respect it that much, and it's I'll always take the same approach to the waves as I always do. First things, go out there and say thank you, thanks to the ocean, thanks to the Kai for bringing my ancestors to this land to settle it, to create the sport surfing, and to be where I am today, so that I can go further and share that aloha spirit and keep my culture and my Hawaii going onto the next generation. And to be able to do that, I have to have ultimate respect for the sea.
Yeah. So let's fast forward, because that's a good segue into, I think, one of your other most probably memorable waves, that tow wave at Cloudbreak.
Oh, yeah, I wish I made that one.
Yeah, I mean, so close, right? So close. But what I was going to say was, it's, you're talking about feeling it, you're giving it 150%. Like that day, like I saw you. I had my shoulder injury. I was in the channel watching. I wasn't surfing, but I saw you, and I saw you, like, just how you were feeling that day. I could tell that you were hungry that day. And then when you got that wave, it was like, between that and Ramon's, they were the two giant ones, and you were like so close to making that thing. I mean, just go through your mindset, like, leading up to that wave.
Well, I just had to put plastic fins in my board because I was doing a stunt job with the Rock and them marquee guys in Kauai on the new Jungle Cruise that was coming out, and I didn't know if I was going to wrap in time to make it well. And the PA came over to me and said, "Hey, you guys are wrapped." And I'm like, "Huh?" And Mark still had to work. He couldn't make it to the swell. So I had to, so I called Koa. I said, "Koa, this is the grabbed my boards, my stuff. So Koa packed my bags. I went straight from the airport in Kauai straight to the plane and went straight to Fiji. So I didn't like get to come home and pack my own stuff. So whatever I had, I had. So I just knew from the last time I was in Fiji, I was not gonna go there without. I don't care who you are, all these old tow, paddle. Who cares about that? The biggest wave out there, you're not catching it on a paddleboard. And if you do, you're gonna get super pounded right off the bat. And I was thinking, I want to get one of those because I was with Parko in the channel in 2012, and I had Nathan's 7.0, and I'm like, Parky, take me out there and told me into one of these waves. He's like, oh, yeah, let's do it. Okay. Park was like, no problem, let's do it. Before we go over the wave, the set comes in. I'm like, oh my God. And another wave like that never came in after. And ever since then, I said, if I ever get the chance, I'm not even going to paddle in the beginning. I'm just going to go out the back and wait for a tow. And lucky thing that day was a little bit unruly, and it was kind of like a little bit windy in that. And I knew, I seen a couple waves come in the morning, and I started looking at the time, and I just took my time, went out, and I told Danilo first, and then he got me on the rope. I got one, could feel my board kind of weird, and I'm like, God, I wish I didn't have these fins in here, because it was kind of like, didn't feel like I wanted it to feel, you know? And when I seen that wave stood up, I just was like, first I told him, if there's a good one, I say go, just tow me in. I don't care who's going. Just let me go. I'll surf around them or whatever I got to do. The barrel's big. And that thing stood up, and I just yelled to the top of my lungs, like, okay. And what I didn't want to do is I've seen a lot of people outrun the barrel. Like, come out before the spit. You know what I mean? And I was thinking, no way I'm going to catch a wave this big and not pull in. You know what I mean? So when I dropped into the wave, it was sucking so hard and gnarly. I went right first to like get down the transition, because it really went like below sea level, way outside. Like if you watch the video when it first pops over, see it barreling. It was barreling like I never even seen a wave barrel before for, I don't know, like 100 yards before it even got to me. You know, so I went right and brushed off some speed, and when I like kind of like turned up into it, I was like, oh my goodness, I don't know if I made the right decision here. And I was just thinking, yeah, let's go. You know what I mean? And I got there, and right where my board slid out is right where I was gonna do another pump to like get back up high, because I kind of went up, down, but you can see the wave. It goes like this, and then it does like this thing right there, like a, I don't know, it just did like a little balloon. Ooh. And the board just maxed out. I mean, there's reasons people use stiff fins. There's reasons people use metal fins and G10 material, because it doesn't vibrate. Like, I think certain materials will vibrate too much. My fins just, I think, stuck one way or the other. And that was it. And I went down. And it was a beautiful sight, tumbling on my back, looking up. I got to actually look at the roof of the wave. I mean, those barrels are so big, you don't really get to see what's like up there. And I actually got to check it out for a while and roll, you know, and I just was like, this is going to hurt. But that wave was wave of a lifetime as well, just to ride that wave, whether I made it or not. I mean, I got on it. You know how many people will never ever maybe ride one of those waves? Big wave surfers will never get a chance to be on a wave like that. Just to be on it was a win for me. You know, I won a award for it. I got the white ball of the year. Yeah. And that was probably one of the biggest poundings of my whole life. I came up. I didn't think I was coming up, actually. It wouldn't let me up. I pulled the vest. I did all the stuff. I wasn't coming up. It just kept pushing me down. It wouldn't let me get my head upright to swim up. It just kept pushing me down. Like, every time I tried to come up, I even did like a front roll underwater. And it just, like, because that wave spins down the reef so fast, I think it just had me in this thing that was like following behind. It was like, I don't know, maybe an underwater tornado or something. Yeah. And I was just like, wow. And there was a moment there that I thought to myself, like, okay, if I pass out, I hope the boys get me before I die, because there's a point where you can come back and they can revive you, Aaron Gold. But I was just hoping that if I did pass out, and this was all going really fast in my mind, Like, okay, just hopefully they get me. I'm gonna float up sooner or later, get me before I die. And as soon as I thought that, like it felt like as soon as I thought that, I broke the surface, and the next wave was about 2 feet from my head, the lip. So I broke the surface, went to like look up to take a breath, and just got the lip directly to the face. I'll never forget the look of how a big wave comes down like that, and the lip goes like this before it hits, and like kind of like fans out before it hits the water, and just hit me right in my head, snapped my neck back, and I didn't even try and swim. I just came up when I did, and eyes was bleeding, my nose was bleeding, I was coughing up blood. And Kai's like, get off, Danilo lost the ski. I'm like, oh, well, I'm not getting off the ski. I was storing up water and stuff, and that was the end of the day. I didn't even surf the next day. I watched Lori them catch those waves, and I was like, I'm good. You know, I might not have made the wave, but I'm making it home. So that was that was definitely an experience.
Yeah. Wow. Well, a couple more questions, and I don't want to keep you too long, but I guess what's your thoughts on big wave surfing now? I mean, judging, you know, the contests, you know, where are we at? What could be improved? You know, I know there's a lot of people talking about judging priority and big wave contests. You know, what should be done, what shouldn't be done. But I'd like to get your point of view because I know you've been, you know, pretty vocal, you know, when we, you know, talk about this stuff.
I really want to know what I think about big wave surfing. They need to implement towing surfing a lot more because they need to implement towing surfing a lot more if they want to bring money to the sport. Because the oil companies and the gas companies with the jet skis and all that stuff is where all the big money's at. NASCAR, billions. All these racing things, all oil, Shell, Lucas Oil, Yamaha, Honda, Kawasaki. First and foremost, I think we should implement the jet skis, the boats, all of that stuff, and build a business plan around how we can incorporate engines into big wave surfing because it brings that much more attention from potential sponsors, and that's a lot of the fight that we've been having lately is funding a lot of this stuff. The judging, I've even been apologized to by the judges and had a meeting because of how ripped off I got at Todos Santos. And guys, it wasn't nothing personal. It's just an honest mistake. I'm like, there's a big meeting about how that's not going to happen again, but it cost me another world title. It is what it is. Judging is always going to be judging. It's subjective to someone's opinion, and regardless of how you want to do it, whether you put surfers in there, they're going to have their favorites. I mean, it's just what it is. I mean, it's human beings are jealous. Nature. Human beings have, human nature has favorites for everything, and we just try our best to get the most hardworking, honest people in there that know waves, know critical positions on waves and stuff like that, and choose those people. And whether 0.074 makes or breaks someone's career, that's just how it goes sometimes. And just like for me, sometimes you got to suck it up, work harder, and try again. You know, too bad, so sad, bro. Try again next one. And I mean, that's just the way of life. You know what I mean? It's the way of being subjected. You hit the ball 3 times, you hit the ball 3 times in golf or whatever it may be. You know, 3 strikes, you're out. It's a sport that we're in. There's gonna be discrepancy. There's gonna be people that don't like certain calls. There's gonna be people saying, you know, this or that, whatever it may be. But that's what it is. And I think the judges have been doing a great job. I think the WSL has done a great job. I think everybody has worked hard and put their best foot forward to take our sport to the next level. I think that us as a group definitely need to come together a little bit more and make sure we get the right judges in there. You know what I mean? Like you were saying. And the priority thing is a little bit tricky because how do you know if the guy actually paddled for the wave on a big wave like that? You can have a jet ski in the lineup. Like, how do you switch priority between like when you do top three and then bottom three? But then the bottom three guys are catching waves, so someone's gonna have to pay attention to the bottom three guys who caught the last wave or who what, and then there's gonna be like a double priority judge. And say a big set comes in and no one goes because those guys had priority. Do they lose priority because they just let the set go?
Yeah.
And nobody else could have caught it, and they kind of looked at it and nobody paddled? Because you and I both know if you paddle for that wave 10 feet too far in and don't go, and then the other guy doesn't go, you're gonna get caught inside of the biggest wave of your life. Like that's not a joke. That's life threatening. You know what I mean? So the priority thing to me has to really be defined, or we just cut the tour down to 16 guys. I don't think there should be more than 16 or 20 guys anyway. You put 4-man heats or whatever it may be, and you do a 4-man priority just like any other place. And you don't need 6 guys in a heat.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
I don't even
4-man heats.
Yeah. I mean, I'm not. I don't even know if a tour is the future or if it's just events. You know, like the Eddie. You know, let's talk about the Eddie. I mean, the best event that we have. You know, like the last one. I remember being on the podium with you and the guys, and it was like, freak, one of the best days of my life. You know what I mean? Like getting that first full invite. What was the first invite you got? How old were you when you got your first invite to the Eddie?
I was 18 years old. I got invited in 2003,
18.
right after I got the big wave. And for me, that podium was more than you could ever imagine, because me and Jody Wilmot, when she first came, I don't know how old she was, but our job, she would pick me up and we'd go clean Eddie's rock and put the flowers over there when I was a little kid. And my dad helped create that contest. You know, Pops Aikau was there when I was born. He was living at our house, and he would cook food for my mom and rub her feet. And like, the Aikau family meant so much to me. I mean, they went and took that rock and chose it with Eddie's father and put it over there. And, you know, the first contest was the first year I was born. And to be involved in that and grow up down at the graveyard and with everyone and just always when I was young, I think that now that you make me think of it, that might be one of the moments that I wanted to be a big wave surfer, is watching those Eddie Aikau contests before even towing, because of what Eddie stood for. And he was like the Hawaiian Superman for me, you know, and cleaning his memorial and putting the flowers there, and to stand on that stage and look over at that memorial and like, never thought I'd be standing on this stage as a finalist or as one of the top guys at the Eddie Aikau. Was like, that was a super dream come true.
Yeah, it's same here. Even wilder dream for me, man. It's incredible, and we always wish that thing goes off every year, but that's why it's so special. You know, it's every 4 or 5 years. But all right, buddy. Well, I'm going to call this 5 to finish. 5 questions to finish off the podcast.
Okay.
All right, you ready?
All right.
Question number 1: best big wave in the world.
The best big wave in the world? Jaws.
All right. The heaviest or scariest big wave in the world.
Well, that's a trick question because there's different waves. I never ever surfed Mavs, but that wave has a reputation. Then there's Jaws. Then there's Nazare, but the deadliest wave in the world is Pipeline. So
Pipeline.
Yeah, that's a tough one. That's my answer.
All right. This one. What wave haven't you surfed? What big wave haven't you surfed, but you want to put on your list?
Mavs.
Next year we're going. The most underrated big wave in the world.
The most underrated big wave in the world. Nowadays, probably Waimea, because the day we surfed it in the contest was so heavy. If you didn't have a vest or something, you weren't coming out. So I think Waimea nowadays with everything that's going on.
All right. One last question, number 5. Where is the next big wave discovery going to be?
Mars.
All right, brother. Makua Kai, thank you so much, man, for making it happen. I know it was crazy today, but we made it happen. The first ever Big Wave podcast. Stoked to have you on, man. Thank you.
All right. Love you guys all.
All right, brother.
Have a good day. Right on, Jay. See you soon. Aloha.
Thanks, brother. Bye.